Per usual, everything on this channel is for educational purposes only and is not intended as financial advice. It is Wednesday. Let's take a look at some altcoins, which aren't necessarily doing well. They're not doing great, mostly because of BTC pulling back, largely due to macro factors here. A lot of chop, a lot of influx in Q1, but ultimately, the stronger the dollar, US dollar, the weaker risk markets tend to be. That includes S&P, NASDAQ, big tech, BTC, alts. Alts do best when money printing is out of control and liquidity is rising rapidly. And that hasn't been happening recently. That isn't to say alts can't go up in the face of this. It's just harder. It's a headwind, right? So to see the dollar still up here at 109 with this back and forth about tariffs targeted or broad from Trump, that's not going to help people feel comfortable allocating and staying in alts, including BTC. So this chart in a vacuum, certainly still bullish. The weekly dollar also doesn't look bearish. It doesn't look like I would enter a fresh position up here if this were anything else, but it doesn't look bearish. And that's the issue. It's just blowing in your face, blowing in your altcoin positions. And it's just very hard for alts to do well in the face of this. We don't need dollar sub 100, but we do need dollar quieting down. We do need yields quieting down. We do need the bedrock of the financial ecosystem of the world to not be as volatile and to quiet down. If this goes to 5 or beyond, we've got issues. We're seeing that in the UK already. And for those of you who are as bearish as I am on what's going to happen here as far as yield curve control, I'm right there with you, but we're not quite there yet. So do you want to step in front of this in a big way if we do go to 5 and then something breaks and then yield curve control / QE / printer gets turned back on? But this chart as well doesn't look bearish. And that's problematic for alts especially. BTC dominance still looks bullish, doesn't look trend bearish to me. It certainly looks weaker than it has over the past 3 years. But if you're level setting expectations, you want this, right? If you're an altcoin maxi, if you're altcoin denominated, you want what we want on the dollar for BTC, right? What we want on the dollar is sub 100 below this range or below the cloud. It will take anything below 105, right? But if you're in alts, what you want is dominance below 56% at this point. That's the number. And we're not quite there yet. So yeah, you can pre-position ahead of that with the assumption that this is going to be bearish for dominance. But if you do that, you have to realize that you could be wrong, or you could be wrong for a long time, or you could be permanently wrong. What if dominance doesn't roll over? What if dominance goes higher? So I'd certainly have a plan for that. Looking at total 2, stripping out stables, this has also slowed down. We're getting a bearish TK cross on the daily here. The best entries are always going to be daily breakouts on the cloud, especially after an extended period of down or chop or sideways. So it's a little early here to expect anything. It's always going to be better to see some sort of consolidation ahead of a trend reversal. And we're not seeing that. We're coming out of a trend reversal from the bull side. We're going from bullish to neutral. So it's a little early to expect anything there. Total 2, stripping out stables relative to BTC. Also just chopping around. Not really much to say there. And if we look at other risk on animal spirits gauges like ARK still looks okay. It certainly looks better than most alts do, and it's held its pullback here at around 59, but it hasn't given up everything. It hasn't returned to 48 or 45. It's consolidating up here for the moment. So you really have to never forget who you are on the altcoin side. You are the first to be sold. You are the first to get whipsawed. You are the first to get 2x BTC in either direction. And you just have to realize that when direction is not clear, you are, as an altcoin, the last to be held up. Before I go any further here, let me mention today's video sponsor, Kraken Pro. Kraken Pro is a complete overhaul of the Kraken trading experience with a one-stop shop for advanced and professional traders. Kraken Pro enables efficient trading execution across multiple markets with a UI that allows for unique optimization tailored to your trading style. You can check out Kraken Pro at the link in the description of this video. Non-investment advice. Crypto trading involves risk of loss. Cryptocurrency services are provided to U.S. territory customers by Payward Ventures, Inc., PVI, DBA, Kraken. Looking at BTC here, it's kind of the worst fears of bulls and bears alike. We have a definitive break above 100, and then we gave all of that back and then some the next day. Best case here for the bulls would be some sort of IHS type fractal. For the bears, the macro head and shoulders thing is still there. The edge to edge is still there. And probably the most importantly for me as a cloud trader is the bearish TK cross upcoming here on BTC. So we're just still in a very tenuous period along with everything else. On the technical side, kind of pointing to we're just not sure here. So downside risk is certainly 80. That's unquestionable. Upside risk is the measured move higher here is 120. And it's probably about a coin flip when you measure it out. We've had a good run from the breakout at 60 to 108. And my best guess here would be a bunch of nothing until later in Q1, potentially into Q2. If this does go to 80, the next long trade would be either bidding 80, you could go from cash 94 to 80 and then bid 80, or wait for bullish TK cross price above cloud. So if BTC is not clear, alts down the list certainly not going to be clear, and they are very, very angry along with everything else on the legacy side, which also isn't having a good time now. I've been getting questions about BNB occasionally. It's on Kraken. I think it's non-US. I can't access it as a US individual. But as far as trade setups or direction here, it's bullish. It's okay, right? It's hit the old inverted head and shoulders target. And like everything else, it needs bullish BTC. And you can look at this against BTC, maybe as a gauge of alt season. You'd expect this to do well, although from memory, I think BNB BTC does best in a bear market from memory. But there's clearly edge-to-edge potential there against BTC. Against ETH, it looks about flat, maybe a pending head and shoulders since 2024 on the weekly. I don't really see a strong reason to jump into BNB relative to ETH. And then against SOL, it does look potentially undervalued, but I'd be watching the range there. So all in all, I don't really see a great reason to jump into BNB for the extended future. And that's kind of the story for a lot of these alts down the list. I know BNB's at the top of the list, but even ETH, it just hasn't been able to hold much of anything. You could probably argue some sort of angry head and shoulders fractal here if you're bearish. And by bearish, I really don't mean you want prices to go down. It's like you want to buy lower prices, really. That's why most of us are here. If you're watching this video, that would be like 2,600 on the measured move here. The cloud already telling you this is not somewhere you want to live with that bearish TK cross on the daily. Now, if you're holding out for ETH BTC positioning or this larger IHS idea, that's certainly possible that this still works out. It's just a longer term idea. And you have to realize you're going to be holding for a little while, and you really don't want this breaking 3,000. But like I said, 26 is possible. It's just very unclear on direction at the moment. As a breakout trader, this sounds not great as a setup, but I'd always rather buy 3,800 to 4,000 than guess down here. Now you could always say, you know what, I don't think it's going to go lower than 28 because that's the left shoulder and I'm confident that this is going to play out. You can do that. That's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. I'd rather be here 38 and above personally, just because what happens if this doesn't hold at 28? What happens if this pattern gets invalidated? That's the question you need to be asking if you're buying 28 to 3,000. Do you have a stop loss at all? Do you care? Are you in this for the rest of the year? Are you in this with expectations of bullishness for ETH, et cetera, et cetera? So it depends why you're trading this. Ripple on high time frames certainly looks better than just about everything. It's not signaling a bearish TK cross. It's holding within the range. It looks okay. At some point, I'd imagine, if everything else, like if BTC goes to 80, now where does Ripple go? I can't imagine it just holds the range. It probably breaks down maybe to 150 or something. But I can't imagine it goes in the opposite direction, even though it's doing that over the past 24 hours. Ripple BTC holding flat there as well. ETH BTC, jumping back to this idea is still there. It's a giant mess. That's definitely the case. The less obvious this looks, confidence should go down in the setup, in the expectations of completion of the setup, and in targets relative to the setup. However, if we don't make a lower low, I'd say it's intact. If we make a new low beyond 032, then it's really in trouble. But you really just kind of got to take this one day by day. For Sol, again, there's just no reason here based on technicals. You're getting a denial at the Tenkin, a denial at the cloud, back into the cloud. This whole zone is just no trade zone, no trade zone. Until you get either a bearish cloud with a bearish TK cross or a bullish cloud with a bullish TK cross and price above or below the cloud, the expectations from the cloud here is nothing. It is neutral, it is turbulence, it is volatility, it is directionless chop. That is the expectation. So we can discuss any level on high time frames like we can with ETH, and we can say, okay, we think this is like this nested head, cup and handle here in this broader cup and handle. Sure, right? But if you're playing these high time frame patterns, you really have to give them time to play out, and you can't get bogged down with looking at the daily. And just like ETH, where are you wrong if this doesn't play out? You certainly wouldn't want this below 130. That's definitely the line in the sand, 120, 130, somewhere down there. But if you're bullish on this stuff for the year, you almost have to ignore this because this is flying in the face of bullishness at the moment. Sol BTC just chopping around. Again, like BNB, this range is just telling me there's no reason to hold Sol. There just isn't. Massive chop, directionless nonsense so far since early 2024. Doge, you could probably argue an inverted cup and handle. Again, not bullish. It tried to break out again, got denied like everything else. Difficult when if you're trend trading and this stuff just whipsaws back and forth. It looked bullish 2 days ago. Now it looks bearish. You're still getting the bearish TK cross. It's just there's no entry or setup here for me. There just isn't. This would need to be back above the cloud bullish TK cross, right? Just like it was October, November. That's going to take time, definitely, if it happens. Doge BTC also, same exact chart. Not much really going on differently there. SUI, outside of Ripple, is probably the strongest looking chart. But again, if BTC breaks to 80, do you think SUI is going to hold 4? Probably not. You probably get a bearish TK cross for the first time in several months here on SUI. That was your bull cross breakout. Your bear cross is potentially coming here over the next week. Entry, exit. It's that simple. It's not a statement on the network. It's not a statement on the future of SUI. It's not a statement on TVL. All this is looking at is trend strength. It's trying to pull you out here in case this goes lower, and it would bring you back in if you get a bullish TK recross. So we're kind of looking at this a week or two in advance, but as a trade, this was a great trade from, we'll even go from $1 basically, right? From $1 to here, it's still a 300% move. So for this to give back any of that would certainly be reasonable throughout Q1. Pepe kind of looks like Doge. I just don't like anything that looks like this ever. And this risks breaking down back to the initial breakout. It's, I'm as bearish on this here as I was bullish on this back here for the same opposite reason. It's the same pattern. It's the same breakout potential, just in a bearish direction. ADA, very rough, very choppy, and just tough. It was head and shoulders, didn't quite break down, tried to pull back up. Now it might be an inverted cup and handle. You're going to get a bearish TK cross on this as well. Not a great signal to the long side. And much like a lot of this stuff, it's still sitting at 150% from November. So to give some back wouldn't be unreasonable. ADA BTC, the exact same. Inverted cup and handle vibes there. Algo, inverted cup and handle vibes, bearish TK cross, bearish cloud. This was one of the better looking charts that, again, at least last week, just rolled over, right? So it's not giving me signs of bullish continuation here. FTM has been bearish for a minute here, and the cloud's always trying to keep you in the straight and narrow as far as expectations for trend, and this is certainly not bullish expectations here. Link, kind of the same as everything else. Some mishmash of head and shoulders, inverted cup and handle. Certainly not bullish. This one would still probably measure to about 15 if it does break down. Go to AVAX, same deal. Most of these alt charts look fairly similar. LTC as well just doesn't look bullish, right? It's very different on the cloud than it was October, November, where future expectations looking at this just aren't bullish. It's just that simple. Aptos, same deal as FTM, has been bearish for a little while now. TIA just continuously trying to break lows here, not bullish. It just isn't, right? And we can say, okay, what do we expect here? We could measure the range in the opposite direction from here to here and say, does this make new? Would it be an all-time low? Not quite. It would basically potentially be back to the listing low if we get a move back down there. But it's certainly not bullish, certainly. And you can say, all right, well, it's at the bottom of the range. Josh doesn't like ranges. I do. I'm going to buy this. That's fine. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. I've not found much success in range trading, especially on alts. And if you are range trading this, I would put a stop loss at the new local low. I don't hate that idea. I don't hate that concept. It's just in reality, it gets painful trying to trade the ranges sometimes on alts because this could easily just run to 365, 345, bounce from there. You know, it's just kind of a mess. Filecoin also bearish, inverted cup and handle. Not a lot of happiness here across the board on alts. So if you're bullish for 25, which is reasonable, I would pick your battles here. I would take your time. Could be a long quarter. Could be a very messy macro environment with the dollar, with yields. And the ultimate go signal is very likely going to be the printer getting turned on, which hasn't happened yet. That's all I have for this one. Like, dislike, comment, share, subscribe, and happy trading.